Lapanim Yerushalayim, let us stand. Who's that? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Barakatah Hawa. Bashem Hamashiach. Yahushai. Lanatan Lanu. Labashem. Makotora. Toda. Amen. Blessed be your name, O Yahweh, for giving us the incense for the prayer of the saints. Amen. Come on. Hallelujah. Barakatah Hawa. Bashem Hamashiach. Yahushai. Lanatan Lanu. Ha'awar. Toda. Amen. Blessed be your name, O Yahweh, for giving us the light to see. Blessed be your name forever. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Echad. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Echad. Shema Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Echad. 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 All praises and glory and honor unto the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for giving us the Shabbat day in peace. We thank you, Yahweh, for 6 days you worked. In the 7th day you have sanctified it and have called it the most holy among all days. We are absolutely happy to be here, Yahweh. We are extremely grateful to be in your sanctuary and to put all that we got in the work that you have confided us. We pray that you continue to bring great blessing upon this community, that you bring a high level of wisdom, a high level of understanding, that we may do all we have to do with all our heart and all our soul and with passion. O Yahweh, forgive your children. Bring blessing upon thy people. Bring healing unto thy children. And let Israel rejoice abundantly in you. And let thy people turn to you. And let the glory of the saint reach high unto heaven. We pray that you to continue to bring more understanding in on a mountain of wisdom, that we may do what you have called us to do, and that the mission that you have assigned us to do, that we may complete it successfully. We pray that you continue to be with us. Use our lips to speak thy truth to thy people, and that thy people may hearken and may have a change of heart, that they may completely abandon their wicked ways, that we may return unto Yahweh our power. We pray that you bless us. Bless the Shabbat day. Bless all those that have their face turned toward Zion, knowing that only through you, O Yahweh, salvation is made possible. We ask all these things in the only begotten Son of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, throughout the Tamyan. La Shabbat, you may be seated.
Shalom Aleichem. All right, we're getting started. All right, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. All right, Shalom. Let's begin our lesson. We're going to read in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6.
Come. The book of Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6. The book of Deuteronomy 7 and 6. For thou art unholy people unto the Lord thy power.
Say it again.
For thou art unholy people unto the Lord thy power.
Read.
The Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Right, to be special, to be a special people unto the Most High, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. With that comes privileges. With that comes responsibility. But that also makes you a target, because you're special unto the Most High. The enemies don't like that. And therefore, they want to oppress you. And I'm going to show you something. Today we have a very interesting lesson. You're going to like it. Let's read it. Let's start in Revelation 12.
The book of Revelation 12.
12, 1 to 6.
Revelation 12 verse 6, right?
1 to 6.
1 to 6. The book of Revelation 12, verse 1 through 6. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
A crown of 12 stars. That woman represents Israel, and the 12 stars represent the 12 tribes of Israel. Read.
And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
Right.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
And the red dragon represents the Roman Empire, and the 7 heads and the 10 horns is the beast system that comes also with that. Okay? Again, today the purpose is not going to, we're not going to be talking so much about prophecy, but we will be talking about white supremacy in Africa, because something is happening in Africa. You guys want to hear it, you want to know it, because it's going to blow very soon. And it's really, tension is building up, right? But first, read verse 3 again.
Revelation 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
Read.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Again, that child is Hamashiach, and the dragon, the Roman Empire, and the purpose was they wanted to obviously kill Christ. Read verse 5.
Revelation 12, verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Right. And her child was cut up unto the Most High, and to his throne.
Read.
Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of the Most High, and there should feed her there 1,260 days.
So the woman fled to the wilderness, where the woman would be fed, meaning would be taken care of for 1,300. For what is it? 1260, right? 1,260.
1,260 days.
Essentially, 1,260. We know in the scripture when we see days, it actually means years, especially in prophecy. Now I want you to do the math. From 70 AD, you're gonna add 1260. It's supposed to give you 1330. What happened in 1330? Does anybody know? I want you guys to guess. Does anyone know what happened in 1330? 1330 was what they call the Renaissance period, the rebirth of Esau. Because for a while, Esau was not the dominant power. They had effectively lost power to who? To the Muslims. But before we get into all that, we have to start from the very beginning. We have to go back in time. And you're going to see that what's going on right now in Africa is directly related to things that's been going to us, that's been happening to us as a people. So let's start from the beginning. Again, don't forget, 1330, Renaissance. Let's read in the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 1 to 10. Acts, chapter 2, verse 1 to 10. I got to give you the historical aspect of everything.
Chapter 1. Chapter 2, verse 1.
Verse 1 to 10.
The book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come,
Read.
they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as a fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance.
Read.
Verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven.
Read that again.
And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
So at that time in Jerusalem, you had Jews coming from every nation, meaning we already had our people in many nations. They come back for the day of Pentecost, in Hebrew called Shavuot. Read.
Verse 6. Now this was noised abroad, and the multitude came together, and they were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how we hear every man in our own tongue wherein we were born.
So essentially, those Jews coming from all those different nations, a lot of them, some of them probably didn't speak Hebrew. They didn't speak the Galilean dialect, but they were all of a sudden able to understand as if there was someone translating. That was the Spirit of the Most High doing that. Imagine someone who's from Mexico who doesn't speak Creole, and I'm speaking Creole, he or she is understanding what I'm saying. The Holy Spirit of the Most High is doing that. So you had Jews coming from all over the earth. They came back to Jerusalem for the day of Pentecost, and the apostles were speaking Hebrew. They were speaking the Galilean dialect of Hebrew, and every one of them were understanding as if he was speaking their own language. Read. Verse 8.
Verse 8. And how hear we every man in our tongue wherein we were born? Parthians,
East Iranians,
and Medes,
Afghanistan and Turkmenistan,
and Elamites,
some of them India, but a part of it also in Iran. Read.
and the dwellers of Mesopotamia,
Iraq. Read.
and in Judea,
Israel,
and Cappadocia,
Turkey,
and Pontus, and Asia.
Asia Minor basically. Read.
Verse 10. Phrygia,
Also Turkey,
and Pamphylia,
Turkey,
and Egypt.
and Egypt. Now, Egypt is in Africa. Okay? I don't even have to explain it to anyone. That's in Africa. Read.
And in the parts of Libya,
In the parts of Libya, also Africa. Read.
about Cyrene,
Cyrene, which is in northeastern Libya, closer to Egypt. Read.
and strangers of Rome,
Essentially visitors from Rome,
Jews,
Jews,
and proselytes.
and converts. Right? So now, I'm building up something. We're starting from the very beginning. This is prior 70 to 70 AD. That's before the destruction, the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. We already had Jews in many different parts of the world. Okay? And some of those Jews were forced out of their land when the Greeks were occupying Israel. Okay? Now, so first we can establish, even before the destruction of Jerusalem, we already had Jews living in many different places. So far, we all good, right? Now, first century, according to the book, from Babylon to Timbuktu, 1 million Jews entered Africa following the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. I don't have the book. If somebody has it, you can read it. We can read it right now, right? 1 million Jews entered Africa following the Roman destruction of Jerusalem, 70 AD. We are still in the first century. You guys are with me? Additionally, another 30,000 Jews were actually dispersed to the entire area called Carthage. And this covers Libya. It also covers Tunisia, all of the northeast African coast. Okay? Now, we also, during 70 AD, when those Jews entered Africa, they used... You have it?
This is from the book of from Babylon to Timbuktu.
Read it.
And in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. And in 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with a great slaughter. Many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
Filled with black Jews. We had black Jews everywhere in Africa.
Not Jewish.
Not Jewish, right? Black Jew slaves, black Israelite slaves. Now, here's the thing.
That's page 84 in From Babylon to Timber.
Let's do the math, right? 1 million Israelites entered Africa.
At least.
70 AD. 2,000 years later, remember, we're in 2023. About 2,000 years later, how many children do you think those people would have generated? How many kids would they have? If we do the math, we should be in well over 300 million people. And that's only counting those Jews that entered Jerusalem, that entered Africa following the destruction of Jerusalem. We're not talking about the Jews that were there before that, or the many Israelites that were kicked out during the time of Shalmaneser. Some of them went close to Iraq and Mesopotamia. Others actually went into Africa even before that. We're getting somewhere, right? Okay, so now we had Israelites entering into Africa. They took different routes. Some of them went into Egypt because there were already Jews in Egypt. Some of them went into Libya because there were already Jews in Libya. Some of them entered Africa through Yemen. Now, if you look at the map, you can go down and you can go to Yemen, and from Yemen, you can easily enter Africa. It's really easy. But here's something. I want to, now I'm not going to read the whole story, but I'm gonna give you like a brief description of what happened. So during the first century, we had some of the 1 million Israelites that have entered into Africa. Some of them didn't even enter all the way, but some of them stayed in Yemen. There was a kingdom in Yemen called Himyar. In Arabic, it's Mamlaka Himyar. In Hebrew, it's Mamlakat Himyar. Now, the Jews in Yemen, they were already quickly becoming prominent in the land. So again, Yemen, those were mainly, not nowadays they say they're Arabs, but they're really not Arabs. They're probably most related to the Midianites, which were the descendants of Abraham. If you guys remember, Abraham had other kids after Sarah died, okay? Including Shua, I think Joktan was one. Ishbak was another one. Midian, those were children that Abraham had. So most likely the Yemenites are relating to Abraham. They're not really Arab, but obviously nowadays they put the Arab label on everybody, including Syrians and Iraqis, which make no sense. But now, so the Jews were living in Yemen. They were becoming prominent. Obviously, wherever the Israelites land, wherever we go, it's just a matter of time before we take over. Our culture will take over. The way we do things, our scripture, our religion, it's just going to spread because we tend to attract people. People like to see what we do, and they like to copy.
With a light.
I mean, it's happening in America, right? Even when it comes to sports. Imagine if they say black people, you're no longer allowed to play sports in America. I mean, the NBA is over. I mean, NFL, forget about that. It's not going to be fun anymore because we make it fun.
Golf was nothing until a black man actually started playing.
Right? So we are the light. So now when we went to Yemen, a lot of the Israelites already went into Africa, but some of them didn't go all the way into Africa. They stayed in Yemen. Now, just so you know, I'm saying Africa because of how we look at it today. But back in the days, Yemen was considered as part of Africa. Okay? But I'm talking about going deeper into Africa. So a kingdom was already there. It was called the Himyar kingdom, right? At the time, they were worshiping Arabic pagan gods. They really didn't know anything about the Most High. But obviously, you know, once we land, when we arrive, you got to change that nonsense, right? So they started to worship the God of Israel. By the 2nd century, not only we had a strong presence in Yemen, a lot of the local tribes there were already fully worshiping the God of Israel.
They got converted.
They got converted, right? 4th century, that's between 300 to 400 CE, meaning after Christ, Hebrewism the religion of the Hebrews was already the de facto religion in Yemen. That means almost all of the population were already like Hebrews. Whatever we did, they were doing it. However, we were worshiping the Most High, they were worshiping the Most High too. Essentially, they adopted our religion and our culture. Again, we are still not talking about the many Jews we had in Libya, the many Jews we had in the Sahel region, and the many Jews that already went down south. We're only talking about the Jews in Yemen. Now, 5th century. During the 5th century, there was a guy whose name was Dunuas, also in Hebrew known as Yosef Nuas. Yosef Nuas was born in Himyar, meaning he was born in that kingdom, which was south of Yemen. Now, he was not an Israelite because only his mom was Israelite. So essentially, he was an Israelitish person. I don't know if you guys are still with me, right? So his mom was Israelite, but his dad was not Israelite. But he decided to fully convert to become a Hebrew, to fully convert to become an Israelite. He was born, around 400 to 500. But by the 6th century, which is 500 to 600, around the year of 517, Dunuas became the king of Himyar. Israelite king of Himyar. Now we're in control. It's getting more interesting, right? The first thing he did, he put all the Hebrews and the Jews in power. And he kicked the Christians out.
That's
He
right.
told the Christians get out. I can't blame him. He did the right thing. Right? But then other religious groups were threatening to attack him, including the Christians. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do you think he would kick the Christians out? Was it because he maybe didn't like the Christians? Maybe because he was jealous? No, because the Christians, they posed a threat to his empire. You know what they were doing? They were already aligning themselves with the Byzantine Empire. At the time, the emperor was Justinian I, or some people call him Justin I. They were already aligning themselves with the Byzantine Empire, and they were already preparing to attack him. He showed them no mercy. Like, this guy, when you read the history, they make it seem like he was some kind of terrorist, because every time you read them Christian villages, massacred them.
That's what happened when white people get to write history.
Right.
Whatever they do is not terrorism.
Right, but if it's you, it's terrorism. Right? So, now, the Jews from Yemen, he got defeated, by the way. So it's not really a good ending. He got defeated because the Romans came, they supported the Ethiopians, and the Ethiopians went into Yemen, and they attacked Yemen, and obviously he got defeated, and he ended up dying because he went into, according to some historical, to some books that I read, he went into the Red Sea, and he committed suicide. Some people say he was assassinated, but he died. The rest of the Jews that were in Yemen went into Africa, and they went into what they call the Sahel region. The Sahel region is kind of like that region that's, if you look at the African map, you're going to see the top is all desert, right? And the bottom is green. So think of the Sahel region as that region in the middle, right? So you had all those Jews, they decided to go in the middle, right? Now here's what happened after that. From 6th century to the 15th century, the Israelites were already had communities in Mali, in West Africa, especially in Nigeria, Niger, Togo, Benin, and many other places. So those new Israelites coming from Yemen, they were meeting with those other Israelite communities in Africa. So much so, we had an Israelite dynasty that was built in Mali. Pay attention, because we will be talking about Mali, what's going on in Mali today, because that's very important. That Israelite dynasty was ruled by a guy whose name was, they call him Zazua, or Zua, but he led a small dynasty of Israelites, basically like a bloodline, right? But they started facing a lot of pressure, and the pressure was coming mainly from Muslims and Christians. And you're gonna see how they spend years and years resisting the Muslims. Um, has anyone ever heard of a country called Ghana? You heard of Ghana, right? Okay. Have you heard of Burkina Faso? When did you hear? Was it this week? Okay, so you heard. Okay, good. All right, so now
Yeah, they force us to learn them countries and when Haiti, like you have to know.
I had a lesson not too long ago. The lesson was in Creole. I had a lesson not too long ago, and the lesson was in Creole, and we talked about some of the tribes where a lot of Haitians come from. Again, the tribes had different names, but they were all Israelites. Remember, those communities that I mentioned, they expanded. They become huge. For example, we had a lot of our people among the Bombara tribes. Okay, we also had the Capel people. A lot of our people were among the Capel people. Now, by the way, nowadays you're gonna find a lot of tribes in Africa calling themselves Capel, Bombara. Some of them are not. Okay, they literally take the identity. After we left, they take the identity. They call themselves whatever they want. After they sell you, obviously they assume your identity. That sounds like a Christian stuff. Christians love to do that. They capture you, take your identity, and right, right. So now we had Zua Alemen, which means Zua from Yemen. He was a Jew from Yemen. He arrived at a place called Kokia. Kokia today is known as Goa. This is a city in Mali. Today is mainly uninhabited. There's not a lot of things going on. But at the time, it was thriving. That was kind of like the center of civilization. And this guy literally built a dynasty. People were coming from all over the world to get wisdom and knowledge. From there, from the 6th century to the 15th century, we already had the Israelites deeply established in Mali, in the West Coast, in Nigeria, Niger, Togo, Benin, Ghana, and many other countries. We also had our community facing some of the greatest threats, and those threats were coming from Islam. Just like Christianity. First of all, how did we become Christians? By? Islam has something they call the Shahada, which say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, which means there is no God but Allah. And that's not true, okay? I'm just quoting what they say. If you refuse to say that, you will get slaughtered. You will be killed. And at the time, the Muslim caliphate, the Umayyad caliphate, was spreading in around Africa fast. And any tribe that would not say, anyone that would not say it, any tribe that would not accept Islam, you're in trouble. Now, I just wanted to talk about that character because that character is very important. It was a woman. That woman was, the Muslim called her Al-Kahina. Now, funny thing is, nowadays, no, not Al-Qaeda, Al-Kahina. Well, they thought of her as a terrorist, but she was a brilliant queen, a Hebrew queen. Here's the interesting, no, that was not Al-Qaeda. No. That was a Hebrew queen that the Arabs, the Muslims, were afraid of. Now, here's something interesting. Nowadays, they say the word for priest is Kohen in Hebrew. We Hebrew Israelites, we don't say Kohen. What do we say? We say Kahan. Her name was Al-Kahina, the priestess. You see that R at the end? Why is it the Muslim didn't call her Al-Kohina? Because we Hebrew Israelites, we got it right. It's not Kohen, it's Kahan. We didn't have the O. We didn't have that. So we've always been right? Yeah, that's some Yiddish nonsense. But Hebrew is Kahan for priest and Kahina for priestess. We know in Israel we didn't really have priestess, but the Muslims were calling her the priestess in part because they believed she had powers, like she could tell the future essentially. Every single fight she was winning, one after another, one after another, one after another. Essentially a prophetess, but they call her a priestess, right? Every single fight she was winning. And she was so good. She terrorized them so much. Even nowadays, there's a whole statue they make for her in Algeria. And this whole thing was happening in Algeria, by the way. I really had to mention her because she's a very, very formidable character. She fought the Umayyad Caliphate for so long. And she really, at one point, they thought they could never defeat her. They ended up defeating her, and they converted every single Jews that was there. They forced them, convert or you will die. And those Jews, they were mainly Berbers. Have you heard of the Berber tribe?
Yes.
If you guys have not heard of the Berber tribe, look it up. Those right now they all call themselves Muslims. Allahu Akbar. No, you're not Muslim. Because initially you were Israelites who were forced to convert to Islam. She was literally called the queen of the Berbers. And they were 90% of them were actual Israelites by blood, and the rest of them were converts. They were proselytes. So now again, you have the Berbers in Tunisia, you have the Berbers in Algeria, in Libya, in Egypt. They're all calling themselves Muslims. You're not Muslim. You're an Israelite. So now, from the 16th century, right, beginning the 16th century, the slave trade began and peaked around 17th century, especially around the 1690s. But in reality, the first slaves entered the United States 1619. But it really peaked. It reached the highest level around 1690s when a lot of slaves were coming. We're talking about like sometimes 50,000 slaves were coming in. And then more, and more, and more, and more. But I kind of mentioned something that I told you guys, don't forget. 1330. How did I get 1330? If anybody can remember. That number. '70 AD. Khan, let's read it again right quick. Give me
It's coming together.
It's coming together.
Revelation 12. Revelation 12, verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness.
Read five again.
Revelation 12, verse 5. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was cut up unto the Most High into his throne. Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness.
So, first thing first, the woman brought forth a man child, Hamashiach Yahushai, who was to rule the world, to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Not to be nice to them, not to give them cookies, but to rule them with a rod of iron. I can tell you how people need to be ruled with a rod of iron. Read. And her child.
All right. Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of the Most High.
Nope. Verse 5.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was cut up unto the Most High into his throne.
Cut up unto the Most High. Now, if you don't know, Christians, they have this whole thing saying you're gonna have the rapture, we're gonna go to heaven. That same word here, cut up, meaning something is gonna be receiving you up there. And remember, at the time when Christ was being lifted up, there was a whirlwind. That whirlwind is the chariots of the Most High that will take you, basically. You'll be cut up. So Christ was cut up to go to the Most High. Read.
All right. Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,203 days.
So now 1,303 essentially 1260. 1,260 years of us essentially thriving in Africa. We did have a couple of enemies, but we were doing good in Africa. We were, for the most part, the leading tribes in Africa. But something happened. We started facing two major threats. As I mentioned, the Muslims, very early on, they started threatening a lot of Hebrew tribes. But also, Esau finally pinpointed our location. And they were finally able to come together with none other than Ham to do one thing, to begin what we call the slave trade. Has anyone of you guys heard of the Doom Diversas? What is the Doom Diversas, Minister Yeshua?
Doom Diversas was a decree ordered by Pope Nicholas V, that ordered Alfonso III of Portugal, right, to go to Africa and convert all Saracen and everyone basically that did not accept this guy. Hold on.
The Doom Diversas specifically mentioned Saracen.
This guy. That's how slavery happened.
The Doom Diversas issued by Pope Nicholas V specifically mentioned a group of people called the Saracen. But who are the Saracens? The Saracens actually, remember at the time I told you, the Muslims had already converted a lot of Israelites. We were facing pressure from one front, but we had another group that was going to be coming, and those would be the Edomites, right? The Saracens, if you read history, they will say they are Muslims, but they were Muslims, descendants of Sarah. That is completely different from the Hagarenes and the Hagarites, who were Muslim descendants of Hagar.
Yeah.
So when he put specifically mentioning the Saracens, in part because they were fierce fighters. Again, they were already converted to Islam. Those were Hebrew tribes, Israelite tribes that have already been converted to Islam, and they were fierce. When they fight, white people were terrified of them. So fierce that leading the army was a young man. His name was Tariq. Tariq was actually a descendant of Al-Kahina. We talked about Al-Kahina, right? That Hebrew priestess. Tariq was leading a Muslim army, and they were able to enter in Spain and conquer Spain. Now, here's what's interesting. In Spain, you had a huge population of Israelites that were being oppressed by Christians. Okay? As the Christians were oppressing them, they had choice to make. First, they couldn't flee because, again, a lot of them were even encircled by the Christians. This epic battle took place, and it took place in a location, in a place called Toledo. You can look it up right now. Toledo is still a city.
The Battle of Toledo.
The Battle of Toledo is still a city in Spain. So when the Muslim army was coming, the guy that was the commander, the
but
general,
by that time, Tariq had converted Muslim.
he had already converted. Actually, no. He was when he became Muslim, he was extremely young. So he was essentially born and raised Muslim.
Right.
But again,
his mother
was Hebrew. Was forced to convert and ultimately was killed.
Right.
Now, take a look at that. So all of those tribes had already converted to Islam, and all of them are Saracens. Saracens are the descendants of Sarah.
Essentially Israelites.
Essentially Hebrews.
Because we know anyone coming from Sarah.
Right.
That's from Isaac.
And why?
Isaac, Jacob.
Why was it in the Doom Diversas they mentioned that specific group of people is because, number one, they were fierce fighters, and number one, they were
number
Hebrews. Number two, they were Hebrews, right? So now, when they entered into Toledo with Tariq as the head of the quote-unquote Muslim army, the Saracen army, they were able to defeat Esau. They were able to defeat Spain on their own ground in their own country. And for a long time, Spain was occupied by Muslims. And I'm telling you right now, even a lot of words, Spanish words, they actually are based from the Arabic language. But while the Muslim try not to take credit, the credit goes to a descendant of Israel.
That's it.
Who was forced to convert to Islam. So now, just for you to understand, this Battle of Toledo happened later on, right? Let me give you the exact date. Battle of Toledo right quick. Hold on. Right, so the Toledo War, no, that's not it. The Battle of Toledo, me 1 second. It's funny when you read the history, they try to make it seem like the Jews in Spain were traitors because they opened the gates of Toledo, allowing the Muslim army to come. But the Jews at the time, they were not dumb. They knew the head of the Muslim army was an Israelite.
That's it.
You think an Israelite would be killing Israelites?
That's why they kicked out the Jews out of Spain later on, right?
No, tension was already building up.
Right.
Tension was building up. But the Jews, they couldn't flee because the Christians were everywhere. They were being oppressed. They couldn't flee. And they see a foreign army coming. They already knew
salvation.
They already knew the head of that army is a Hebrew Israelite.
So they opened the gates.
They opened the gates of Toledo, allowing the Muslim to come in.
Okay.
And guess what? Tariq did not hurt them. Tariq actually helped a lot of them escape to which place? Mali. We're still talking about Mali, right? So now, let's go back to what's going on today.
I'd do the same thing.
I can't blame you. Let's kind of like go back, because I need to go back to what's going on today. Something interesting is happening today, and you guys don't want to miss it, right? First thing first, let's read Revelation 18, verse 3 to 6.
The book of Revelation 18, verse what?
Verse 3 to 6.
The book of Revelation 18, verse 3 until 6. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through her abundance of her delicacies.
17. Still like 17, 3.
Revelation 17, verse 3. Revelation 17, verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colors.
Pause for a second. Back in the days, having a dress made in purple was a big deal.
Right.
That means you were super rich. Purple was so rare
and scarlet as
so
well.
hard to make. You wearing purple and scarlet, that means you had it going. You had money. You had cash. Read.
Actually, to bring a point to that, I was reading a book, Slavery in West Africa. I have that book here. It says one of the reasons why they start taking the West Africans is because they come to offer them scarlet clothing, and they really love scarlet. Oh, you're gonna bring that out? Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I see you.
Read.
All right. All right. Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness, in her fornication.
Now, the funny thing is that woman, not only was she dressed with purple and scarlet color, but also decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination, wickedness, and filthiness, filthy doctrine spreading all over. Literally passing that cup, giving to everybody. Drink, 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 drink.
Take some.
Because ultimately, that's what the woman wants. For everybody to be on the same mindset, on the same level with her. But what's interesting in verse 3, it actually says the woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast. So essentially, the beast is what's carrying the woman. Are you guys still with me? The woman is not alone. There is a system that's supporting the woman. There's a system that's keeping the woman in power.
Right.
It's a gang-like system of a list of countries that come together to support whichever country is more powerful. For example, when the United Kingdom became powerful, there were a list of countries that was supporting the United Kingdom. When the Roman Empire was the most powerful one, there was a list of countries that supported the Roman Empire. The same way, America is leading the gang. There is a list of countries. You can call them G8, you can call them whatever you want. But there are some suspects, and I'm going to tell you some of them. Those countries, they have the same ideology. They have the same belief system. They have the same, everything is the same
They
as
are the same bloodline.
same bloodline, and they are carrying the woman.
It's a gang, man. It's a gang. But I want to notice that the woman was in the wilderness,
Yep.
right? And if I can say that the wilderness was also where the first woman went to hide, right? Remember? It says we went to hide in the wilderness. Is that something you'll touch on?
It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. We went to hide. The first woman, which is Israel, the woman that had just gave birth to the son, right? She fled to the wilderness where the Most High was going to feed her for 60 days.
Right.
But then you have this another woman, right?
This whore.
This whore in the wilderness. You're going to find that the center of power is right there.
That's what keep them wealthy and with the gold.
Oh, my God.
We got to talk.
You're taking the whole lesson.
Ah.
You're going to find out that that system, that beast system, we have some usual suspects. Number one, France is part of that beast system. Did you know France wouldn't have power had it not been for Niger? Almost 15 to 30% of their uranium came from Africa. Where do you think they get their gold from? So the center
You got to see, that's why the woman is well decked.
right?
She's decked with gold and diamond.
Decked
Where do you
with
think
gold.
they get all that from?
With gold, precious stones, everything, because it's getting it from somewhere that provides all of those things.
And that's where they sit. Listen, I want to say something. There's a white man, he was talking. He said, man, listen, we cannot live without Africa. That's why we're not leaving Africa alone. He said, that's our source of power. He's like, that's where we get all them goals from. He said, that's why Africa cannot change. Because if we develop Africa, then who's going to dig the gold? Who's going to get all these minerals out of the ground for us?
You know what's
So we got to keep Africa poor.
You know what's interesting?
Keep them poor.
You know what's interesting? One of the poorest countries in Africa is Congo. Both. There's the Republic of Congo and there's the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's still Congo. They like to divide themselves, but still Congo.
If you see division, there's a white man there.
Trust me. Congo has not had any stability for years, for decades. They're always fighting. There's always war. But while all those wars are going on, there are countries that are benefiting from resources from Congo. They say if Congo had peace, was free, and was able to do business on their own, they would be the richest country in the world. They have everything, literally gold, cobalt, uranium, you name it, they have everything. Congo is so rich.
Bro, it's
They
ridiculous.
have trees. They have so much trees. You want to build homes. They have gold. Whatever you need, you can get it from Congo.
The Garden of Eden itself, in the flesh.
Have everything. like the brother said, you can call it the Garden of Eden. They have everything.
No, because the Garden of Eden really had all this gold. But I want to notice something. They're doing the same thing in Haiti and Jamaica right now. Like, these countries got minerals, so keep them distracted, keep them in the gang life, make their country unsafe so the population flee. While they're fighting, we exploring.
There is one thing that is comparable to vibranium. You guys heard of vibranium, right? I don't know if you watched the Wakanda Black Panther movie, right? There's one thing that's comparable to vibranium, and they call it iridium. Some people say iridium. Let me guess, which country has the most iridium deposit on Earth? Please guess. Haiti. That thing is so rare, but Esau want that thing like crack. They want it. But how do you get it? all you have to do is divide and conquer. Have the people fight while you steal.
And by the way, when you got to notice in Haiti right now, there's a de facto prime minister. There's no real president. So there's no Senate. There's nothing going on. There's no president. So they can go and do whatever. Nobody can stop them because there's no government.
They do whatever they want.
They're the one that put the guy in power anyway. So he just closes his eyes. You can rob me. Take my stuff. And they put gangs and, you know, that the same principle in Africa. It's always some crazy things happening. Always war. Because Africa is so rich, we got to keep them fighting so we can exploit.
The fight is all it is just a distraction to keep you busy while they steal, while they rob you. That's all it is. It's a distraction.
And also to destabilize government.
Right.
So you have no government, I can take whatever legally. And nobody can tell me nothing.
Well, go back. Let's read verse 4.
It's
17:4.
Revelation 17, verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and in scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones.
Precious stones.
Where do you get those from? And pearls.
Pearls.
Having golden cup in her hand of abomination and filthiness of her fornication.
So they're not just robbing you, but they're also bringing all their wickedness along with that.
But I want to say,
as they're robbing you.
I want to say something. The golden cup. The gold. What is a golden cup? If I have a golden cup, what is that saying? The cup in my hand is gold. What is that? Anyone?
Precious.
If I have a golden cup, like I'm eating, you know, sometimes they say you're eating in a silver platter or a golden platter. What does that mean?
You're rich.
I'm rich, right? So with my golden cup, I'm feeding everybody the abomination. So I'm using my power and money to influence everybody else, right? Because of their money, they can go to Africa and say, I want you to be homosexual. You know, but here's the thing. The gold is taken from the wilderness.
Let's
where
read
they
that.
sit.
Let's read that. Jeremiah 51, verse...
So basically, if you want to take the power away from them, kick them out of Africa. Because that's where they sit. I'm taking the lesson. Okay, let's keep going.
Jeremiah 51. Let's read Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6.
The book of Jeremiah.
6, 7, 8. Read.
I'm loving it. Jeremiah 51, what? 51, right?
51.
Jeremiah 51, verse 6.
Do we have AC?
Yeah, it's cold. Good?
I feel like this was hot. Maybe the lesson hot. Read.
Jeremiah 51, verse 6. Where are we? All right, Jeremiah 51, verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Most High vengeance. You will render unto her a recompense.
And you're going to find out that same thing is in Revelation. I believe Revelation 18, verse 4. Do you have that?
Let me read verse 7 right
No, we're going to go back to that. But read that just to back it up, to show you that same thing is actually mentioned in Revelation.
Revelation 1 what?
18:4, I believe. Hold on to that. Don't lose that.
Revelation 18, verse 4. It reads, I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Read.
For her sins have reached unto heaven.
For what?
For her sins have reached unto heaven.
Her sins have reached unto heaven. When you reach up a phase where you're making pedophilia as something that is normal, you having transgender going to kids' schools, to schools teaching kids that it's okay to
and
be
going to girls' bathroom,
transgenders.
Man.
When you reach a phase where you have what do you call drag queens having story time for kids in school, your sins done reach into heavens. You've done too much.
Just like Sodom. Remember the last time the Messiah visited Sodom, It's because of these things.
The fall of Sodom, before the fall of Sodom, is because homosexuality was spreading everywhere. Everybody was gay. Like the Africans, why are you gay?
Why are you gay?
That thing was spreading in Sodom and Gomorrah. Before the fall of Rome, right? Homosexuality was so normal, you would have stuff going on right there in the middle of the streets. It's already happening. And not only that, they have the nerve to try to spread that same thing in Africa. They're trying to force the African government to either become homosexuals, or we're going to cut aid, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Babylon's sins has reached unto heavens, right? Go back in Jeremiah 51.
Jeremiah 51 verse 8, verse 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad.
They're gone crazy. Because whatever Babylon do, they're doing the same thing. You have a World Cup, right, for women, and you have Canada sending a dude who's saying he's a woman, playing among the women. Like, come on, man, you're a man. Why don't you play with the men? He's like, nah, I'm a woman. You're not a woman. You're a guy. Right? So, and guess what? Canada is doing the same thing. And you got many other countries doing the same thing. They are all following the beast. The beast system, they're all following Babylon.
But he says it's with the golden cup. The cup is not a magical cup. It's the money. They went to Africa. I think they offered them 60 million.
A lot of money.
You know, to legalize it. But the Africans say, why are you gay?
Read. Keep reading.
Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen.
Is what?
It's suddenly fallen.
Right.
And destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so she may be healed.
Same thing when you read Revelation. Same thing when you read Revelation. Babylon the Great. When Babylon the Great is being destroyed, the scriptures say the angels of the Most High will be clapping. The whole earth will be happy to see the destruction of Babylon. Those nations that were in love with Babylon, they will be crying. They'll be in pain. They'll be like, man, look, you see what happened to Babylon? Babylon has been destroyed, obliterated, and to never recover.
We see it, and it's happening, bro.
Read.
Verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Forsake her. And let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reach unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
I tell you, every one of you that's here, the day when you hear the world start talking about throwing nuclear weapons at each other, start packing up your stuff. Go wherever you can. Leave her. Leave Babylon. Forsake Babylon. All right?
But one thing I want to say, in the political sense, you see how the scripture is saying at one point Babylon will be all alone? So all her allies will depart from her.
Right.
All those people that used to be, buddy with Babylon, they will forsake her. Because they notice that Babylon cannot be healed. Babylon cannot be redeemed. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Even right now, what you're looking at with Russia and the BRIC nations, you understand? Every nation's are now trying to back away from Babylon, bro. Even the Arabs, they're like, man, don't tell us what to do.
You have for the first time you have the Saudis trading with the Chinese yuan. They say, I don't even want to use the dollar anymore.
Nobody want to use the dollar.
And you know what happens when your money becomes worthless? You have high inflation, right? So countries are starting to avoid the dollar. And you have BRICS. BRICS wants to expand. And they have 40 countries that already submitted their application.
Include Mexico, right there.
Mexico never want to be late on anything. Mexico's like, I don't know what's going on, but where do I sign up? Right? And they have no loyalty to nobody, I'm telling you.
Right? Mexican end.
Wherever there's money, there's food, there's profit, Mexico is like, I'm on it.
But man, listen, Mexicans have been tired of the white man. So why everybody's forsaking Babylon, man? Everybody, look at what's going on in that Mexico, man. There's certain weapons that they were supposed to go to Ukraine. They got, the gangs have them, man.
But this, you're going to see this.
Javelin and everything. The police can't do anything against these gangs.
will find out that a lot of those Mexican gangs highly likely have their top leadership being run by some secret organizations that's based
Right here. That's it.
Okay?
We all know that.
Divide and conquer. I'm putting my guy over there to create chaos while I'm stealing your resources. But you're going to see how this is all connected to the lesson today. So from 1904 to 1921, you had those countries of Mali, Burkina Faso, or Faso, however you want to say it, Niger. They were all part of something they call the Upper Senegal in Niger French colony. Essentially, they were colonized by France. That is a huge land, a massive, a lot of land with a lot of natural resources. All of the vast territories had so much resources. France was getting rich. They were doing great. Life was good.
They were decked in gold and purple.
Right. They were like Lisa said, they were decked in gold.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you, man.
It's like Judah in the hood. All people in the hood, man. We don't even have money. We wanna be decked. We wanna have gold. We wanna have jewelries. While Esau is driving one of those little 1999 Honda Civic, no, we wanna have Bentley and we wanna put it on 24s.
24s.
This is exactly how France has been living off of African wealth.
They've been sucking Africa.
They've had the chance. They've been robbing, pillaging. They control the natural resources. They control water. They control economy. They do whatever they want. Niger, we're going to get to that, right? So the money, all the resources, all the money, everything goes to France while the people in those countries were starving.
So wicked, man.
Belgium did the same thing. They went to Congo. At the time, it was not sugar cane anymore. It was all about like rubber. It was about tires, and the plants that would be able to do those things were found mainly in Congo. They were forcing kids. I'm talking about like kids 6, 7 years old. If they don't want to work, they'll chop your hand off. And that king, Leopoldo II, was it was worse than Hitler. Well, you don't hear about it, right?
Yeah, because it's written by white people.
So colonialism in Africa has been there for a long time. And now, in 2023, the Africans, they start getting tired of it. They start getting tired of it. They start getting tired of being robbed by the white men. They don't have what they call colonialism anymore. They have what they call the neo-colonialism, meaning the new version of colonialism. Back in the days, they had to send their troops controlling your government, doing everything, the money. They don't want to do that. They pretend they give you control, but at the same time, they put their own guy in control. You understand? That means you don't see their face. But your money goes straight to them. Your resources go straight to them. That's what we call the what we call neo-colonialism.
And you got to notice, this caused chaos in Africa because there's a vacuum for power. Because a lot of these guys, they go in power, the white men give them power, and if that guy messed up, the friends say, I want you, the new guy now. So this guy, they're giving money, power, over this guy, whole civil war stuff.
Now,
it's going on and on and on and on, never ending.
Like he's saying, every single time the poor people in Africa try to stand up for themselves, they would stage a coup and put someone they trust in power, and France is like, no, I want my guy in power. Same thing in Haiti. You had a president in Haiti who was defending the people, who was, at one point, he was begging the system, because Haiti has a system that's established. You guys don't know. There's a system that's established.
The oligarchs.
A group of 1 to 2% of the population, mainly all of them are white and Arabs, right? They control all the wealth. And they're not going to take like just a little bit. They want all of it for themselves. The president begged them. He was like, guys, just give a little bit to the poor people. I know this country is like a cow. You've been drinking all the milk. Just give one little bit, just one bit. What they do, they kill him.
No.
They assassinated him. Every single time we have a ruler, we have a leader that's going to stand up for the people, they will kill him. And in Africa, the same thing. You keep having coups after another, one after another.
What's the new Niger president that's under house arrest?
His name is Bazoum. We're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
So now, what's happening in Africa? You know, I'm gonna talk about that. On July 26, 2023, there's a guy. He was, well, he is, since he's still alive. He's the, well, at the time he was leading what they call the Presidential Guard. The Presidential Guard is responsible to keep the president safe. His name is Abdul Rahman Al-Chani. Abdul Rahman Al-Chani. It's like an Arabic name. Goes back to what I was saying.
You can never get that.
A lot of black people are in Africa right now. They have Arabic names, right?
Right, they're still converted.
Right.
But we got several layers to undo, man. It's deep, bro. Like, even if we free from the white men, then we got them Arabs.
You got them Arabs. And here's the thing. Some of the places where...
But how many of our people would be like, you know what, we're not Arabs, and revolt against that too? Because a lot of them still calling that Allah thing.
Oh, man. I met a Muslim guy. I was trying to teach him. He's from Africa. He's like, yeah, I'm Muslim, you know, Allah. I'm like, bruh, cut it out. This Serel tribe, where he came from, proud to be from Serel tribe, Senegal, was one of the tribes that they brutally massacred. Like, a lot of them were killed, forced to convert to Islam. I started telling the story. I'm like, do you know your own story? Do you know why you're Muslim today? It's because they force you to be Muslim. But he's so proud. And he's even accusing the Iranians, the Shiites, as being kuffar, which means they are not real Muslim. I'm like, technically, you're not even Muslim. I don't even know why you're into this
But
whole
here's the thing.
conversation.
The Muslim don't even consider them Muslim.
Thank you. Nigeria is divided between the Christians and the Muslims. Look at the Muslim section. It's even worse. It's so poor. While black people leaving Nigeria are going to Mecca to do pilgrimage and spending millions and millions of dollars. The Muslims don't send them no money. All the oil money, all the gold money and everything that's going on in the Middle East, why don't they help those black Nigerians that are Muslim over there?
They're helping Jack.
They're not giving you nothing. They don't care. Again, so like Minister Isha is saying, you're going to have to, there's many layers to it. You have to defeat the beast system, but also after that you have to contend to fight with the Muslims. And of course, the beast system is really also Christianity. So now, July 26, 2023, Abdul Rahman Al-Chani staged a coup. He got rid of a president whose name is Mohamed Bazoum. Mohamed Bazoum has been the president of Niger, I think, for about 2 years, right? And this guy staged a coup. But here's something that's interesting. For a span of about 3 years, there has been 3 major coups in Africa, especially in the Sahel region. We talked about the Sahel region earlier, right? 3 major coups. The first one was Guinea. The first one was actually in Mali. We talked about Mali, that we had a huge community of Hebrews in Mali. A lot of our people were brought over here in slave ship, but we still have some Hebrews left. Anyone who would come to you and tell you we don't have Israelites in Africa is lying to you. We still have Hebrews in Africa, okay? So, there was a coup in Mali. The guy, Assimi Goïta, staged a coup against the Malian president and removed him. His name was Boubacar Keita. As soon as he removed this guy, the first thing he did, he kicked the French out. Why kick the French out? Because the French, what they've been doing is, they're saying, we're helping you to fight terrorism. But in reality, all they've been concerned about is robbing and securing trade routes. So your resources can make it from one destination to another. That was one coup.
The only thing they don't do is fight terrorists.
They don't fight terrorism. I'm going to show you something. You know, as soon as the Malian government, the new government, the new junta, as soon as they kicked out the French, they bring the Russian group called Wagner. Wagner cleaning the place. All the terrorists gone.
And they've been here for how long?
Oh my God, for almost 10 years. The French are not concerned about terrorists. I'm telling you, all they're about is steal your resources, secure trade routes, secure routes for resources to go from point A to point B. While the Wagner groups, all they care about is money. You got a couple mil, I'll kill all of them for you. They pay the Wagner rights, they come and clean the place. I
The
saw
Wagner is the Russian.
I saw
group, by the way.
videos myself, okay, of local population talking. They were like, ever since Wagner come, we can actually go outside. With the French, we could never go outside. The French do not care about the terrorists. In fact, it's better
They are
for
the
them.
terrorists. Like what you talking about? Like listen, man. These people don't
They
care.
are literally behind those
We need
things.
Wagner in Haiti and Jamaica as
Oh,
well.
they wanted to go to Haiti. America is not happy. Forget about that Wagner stuff. Russians too close.
Yeah, man. Send them in every island.
You're gonna have you so mad as hell. Right now they're pissed. I'm getting somewhere, right? So now, that was one coup in Mali. There is another coup that happened in another country. That country is called Guinea. Even us Levites in Haiti, we always had songs about Guinea. Say na Guinea we soti, meaning it's from Guinea we come from. Again, because we know we had so many of our people in those regions. Senegal, Guinea, Togo, Benin, Mali. We come from all of those countries. We had communities in all of those countries before the Africans kind of put their hands on us and deliver us to the white man.
And work with the Muslim,
Right?
of course.
And of course, right, with the Muslims. So Guinea still has Israelite presence. We still have Israelites in those countries. Not a lot, but we do have Hebrews in Mali and Guinea and all of those other countries. And you're going to find out once again, we will have to face the beast. Because the beast had never left.
It sits in the wilderness. Where they're going.
That's the seat of power.
The Bible says,
Right?
it sits. That's where she sits.
And you will find out why right now the tectonic plates are moving. The center of power for the beast system is being shaken right now. There is a massive revolution that's happening. With that first coup in Mali and then a second coup in Guinea, that coup removed a president. His name is Alpha Conde. He got removed. They always have strange names too.
I know. It's the
Kind of
Muslim
made me call
names.
Alpha Conde. And then they put in this guy, a military officer, took over. His name is Dumbuya.
Dumbuya. That's worse.
Not even a good name. Anyway, Colonel Mamadi Dumbuya
Oh my
took over, and the first thing he did also is to
Kick the French
move
out.
away from France and kick the French out. Well, some of them are still there, but he's not as friendly as the previous government. And then you have another one, a young officer, his captain. His name is Ibrahim Traore. He staged a coup in his country called Burkina Faso, right? Now, this young guy, if you guys check online, he's very intelligent, very smart, and he's all about what we call Pan-Africanism. He wants black people to come together. And what did he do? He kicked the French armed forces out. But first thing first, why was it the French armed forces were in so many countries? Why were they in Mali? Why are they right now in Niger? Why were they in Burkina Faso? Why were they in Guinea? Why, even though those countries are free, you still have military presence? Right now, France has military presence in almost 20 African countries. Why? I thought they were free. I thought they were
colonizers.
independent. Why do you have bases in those countries, right? So with that coup, France has been kind of like feeling nervous until the most recent one that happened a few days ago. France, they're mad, they're nervous, and why? Because they start losing resources, they start losing money. And this is not the time to lose money because Russia is not giving them oil. You know Russia is not giving them oil, right? They're not receiving gas from Russia. And because of that, they're already afraid very soon Europe is not going to even have the ability to keep the lights on.
Right.
Because there's no gas.
Tucker Carlson was saying that in Germany right now, those people are like primates looking for woods to make fire.
But no, it's
Primates.
true. There's actually footage of people in the United Kingdom looking for woods to try to keep themselves warm.
It's like
Especially
the
right now.
Middle Ages. They're like primates looking for woods. It's like
Especially,
in modern Europe. People's actually looking for woods like their forefathers, the primates.
I'm surprised they didn't kill this guy yet. He talked too much. No, I'm serious. It's just a matter of time before they kill him.
It's funny though.
But so you have you know, people in Europe right now, they're living like primates. They start gathering woods. Now they'll know what it's like to be Haitian. They start gathering woods, preparing for winter. There won't be electricity because Russia is not providing them gas. They're not getting fuel, right? But then there's this coup that just happened in Niger. Is the fourth country, right, in a span of 3 years. And that new government, that new junta wants one thing. The primary thing is to kick France out. So all of those countries, literally, like they're like neighbors. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them say, we want France out.
And they have the most resources on top
And
of
they
it.
have, like Mr. Yeshua, they have the most resources. And like I was saying earlier, they provide 15 to 30% uranium to France.
That's your electrical grid.
The French government rely on nuclear power because
For
they're not getting
electricity.
fuel from Russia. So if they want to keep the lights on, they need to have those nuclear power plants running. And they're not going to run if you don't have no uranium. You need uranium. And France
And
is
that's
like,
from
"Man."
Niger.
And France is mad as hell. They're like, no, we can't let that happen. So immediately what they did, they call a group called ECOWAS. ECOWAS is...
Those are the remainder of the Kuns in Africa. Let's call them Ekunwas.
ECOWAS. This organization is made up of supposedly African states. But everybody know it's mainly ruled by France and the United States. Essentially, they create that organization and say, you can do whatever you want, but when I need you,
It's a gang they create.
when I need you, you better act.
They're called African Union, right? It's like some.
No, African Union is the military
It's
force
the military
of that.
force.
This one is supposed to be the civilian part of that. Guess what? ECOWAS is like, no, we can't let that happen. We want you to restore President Bazoum within 1 week, or we're gonna have military intervention in Niger. If you look at the footage, if you look at the videos, millions of people in Niger took the streets to support the new junta. It's because they were looking for freedom. They've been desperate. They've been thirsty. They need it. Can you imagine those people? They've been suffering so much. 40% of all the money that Niger earned comes from outside donation. When you have more money, when you have more natural resources and wealth, that you could be one of the richest countries on earth. How is that? How is it you depend on donations? Does that make sense? 50% of all money, money that those countries produce go right to France. You want to have a new place to mine like gold or something? France is like, we'll build it for you. Just give us 50%. What about oil? You want me to build a refinery? I'll build that refinery, but I need 60% of all revenue. That's theft. You are greedy. And France has always been greedy.
This is the worst.
The worst, I'm telling you.
Even among Edomites, France is actually the worst of the worst.
America will take some of your stuff, you know.
They all will
They
take
might
some
help
stuff.
you out a little bit.
America's the second. But France is the worst.
France
Let me
is
tell you,
the worst.
when they were looking at Haiti, they look at Dominican Republic and Haiti. They say the Dominican Republic was colonized by the Spaniards. Haiti was the French. Like literally, Haiti is laid bare. Like when you look at the landscape, they're like, man, they explored it way too much.
They will take everything you have until there's nothing left. They are thieves.
And they're still looking for more.
That's why I never liked them French people. But it's the truth. It's not like I'm lying. Let me tell you something.
You don't like that.
They essentially have been robbing Africa for over 100 years. Poverty. The people there are so poor. Haiti is poor, but over there is poor.
Poor.
Next level poor.
Poor.
Poor. It's really that bad. The people can't eat. They can't send their kids to school. Malnutrition is rampant. AIDS, HIV is everywhere. And the country has an
Malaria.
abundance of natural resources. Just think about it for a second. Right now, the currency in France is euro. That's the money they use. But here's something that's interesting. The countries in Africa, they use a currency called franc. Essentially, they're using French money while France is not even using their own money. If France does not print money for Niger, they don't have money. If France does not print money for Mali, they don't have a currency. Because France say, I'm going to give you money, that I'm going to print it for you, and I'm going to charge it. I'm going to charge you to give you that money. And I'm going to create a bank for you that's not backed by all your resources. It's backed by nothing. So your money will never have any worth, will never have no value. You know why your money is important? You know why your money is worth something? It's because it's backed by something. United States dollar is backed by petrol, the petrodollar. It's backed by the fact that all nations are using it. And the Russian money is backed by Russian resources like gold and oil and everything. Why is it those countries in Africa, their currency is not backed by their natural resources? Because if that happened, they would be the richest countries in the whole world. Now things are changing. So
but again, before you move forward, you got to notice the white man is behind it. You know how the white men love coups? They love, like, whenever there's a coup, the first thing is like, yeah, that government was corrupt. Now there's a new coup. We support that. Like, they'll clearly come out and say, listen, we support that new government. Remember what they did to Egypt? What was that government? You know them names.
Mohamed Morsi.
Mohamed Morsi. When they overthrew Mohamed Morsi and there's a new government, United States quickly say, that new government, we support that. We know there's a white man behind it. But the minute they're not behind it, you will know. Because this new government in Africa, they just kick out. They say, we not agree with that. We don't like that new junta guys. That's how you know you should support those new guys. Because they're not with them.
If Esau hates somebody,
you need to love.
You need to love them. No, I'm serious. What he was saying is something that happened in Egypt. In Egypt, supposedly there was this guy, his name was Mubarak. They used to call him a dictator. They say he was bad, he was the devil, he was everything. And then there was another guy who staged a coup. His name was Mohamed Morsi. He was the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh man, Babylon loved him. We loved this guy until this guy started turning against Babylon. They say, no, we need to get rid of this guy. And guess what? They got rid of him. And they say, we support the new government. So why is it they're not supporting the junta right now? Because the same thing happened in Egypt. Mohamed Morsi was overthrown by a military, and all the Western countries supported that guy. They all supported him. So why is it they're not supporting the military junta in Niger? Because the junta want France out.
That's it.
They want foreign resources out of their country.
They want the horde to stop sitting in the wilderness.
So now this sold out African organization called ECOWAS is threatening to use military force against Niger. The country that's leading that group is Nigeria. Niger and Nigeria are not the same countries. Don't get confused. So Nigeria is leading.
So there's Nigerian and there's Nigeria.
Right. So Nigeria is leading ECOWAS, and they find a couple of acolytes, a couple of friends, sidekicks. Number one is Senegal. Senegal is like, I'm going to support you. And then another one, I think it's a Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is like, say, I'm going to support you. But here's something that's interesting. All of the three military juntas say, if you attack Niger, it will be a declaration of war against us. Which means Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea say, if anybody attack Niger, it's going to be a declaration of war.
And we got Wagner.
And it gets even better. Because apparently Wagner started deploying some forces, the Russians. Wagner is everywhere. Wagner started deploying forces also in Niger. This thing is going to blow out of proportion, and it easily can turn
I think
into
the
a
white
major
men
war.
will back up. They'll back up. With the minute they see Wagner, they'll be like, you know, we need to talk about this. we just want peace, you know?
Or maybe they can let it happen. Because they're wounded right now. You know, an animal that's been wounded is actually more
dangerous.
More dangerous. Esau has been wounded in Mali.
And his dollar, man, is
They've
falling.
been
Bro.
wounded in Burkina Faso. They've been
Their
wounded
dollar
in
is-
Chad too. They've been wounded in so many countries, and they're running out of friends. They don't have friends. The people attacked the French embassy, removed the French flag, and put the Russian flag. And they were all saying, Vladimir Putin, we want you, get the French out. They hate French. And I don't blame them. Because they've been robbed for way too long. Can I get Ecclesiastes 7 verse 7? I'm almost done, guys.
Ecclesiastes, you could do the whole day. I don't mind that, man. It's a good lesson. We'll take more.
I think Yaquam loves it. Ecclesiastes 7 verse 7.
Ecclesiastes 7 verse 7.
Right?
Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
It does what?
Make a wise man mad.
Read.
And a gift destroyed the heart.
And a gift destroyed their heart. So the people are oppressed. They're angry. They're mad. And you can't blame them. They've been robbed for way too long. France has been too greedy. They control everything in those countries. But those countries are finally fighting back. But guess what? They have coon organizations that are willing
Your own supposedly people and your own brother.
that are willing to kill their own people in Niger
For the interest of France.
in the name of France, in the name of the white.
Black people trying to, but I think, listen, it's this big problem in Africa and worldwide for our people is this. It's that our mind have been converted, have been reverted, have been reset and programmed. You see, because let me tell you something. It's one. Why do you think slavery happened? Slavery wouldn't happen if the Muslims didn't go there. But except that those Africans who were fighting were not our brother. They were bewitched. I'm telling you, they were bewitched with Muslim doctrine. So they really think of themselves not your brother anymore.
Right.
They think of themselves like Muslims. So it doesn't matter their skin color, but the mind is controlled by something else, by some external forces. This is bad. But what about Chad and all this? Let me ask this question. So they kick friends out. Do they leave their churches open now?
The church is still up there. I don't know why they don't.
See,
burn
this is the biggest mistake. Dessalines made the same mistake in Haiti. He kicked the French out. He left their damn church and their ideology. It's the same as I would say I would kick the voodoo priest out, but I left all his magical portions and I'm still drinking from it. It doesn't matter. Eventually, I'll bring him back in.
Right. It's just gonna come back.
I'm still drinking his magical portions, but I kick him out.
You got something, sis? Correct. Raise it to the ground.
But the Mouse I say, yeah, out of a golden cup, and everybody's drinking from it. So even if you, let's say you take Babylon and that whore and you kill her, right? But you take that golden cup, you're still drinking her portion. That doesn't make any difference. The minute you kick the French out, you need to kick the church out, kick the institutions out, the education system. This is what keeps us enslaved to these people.
Right. As long as the church is, for example, I was reading the first Haitian Constitution or Declaration of Independence. It says the only religion we recognize is the Roman Catholic Church. I'm like, hey.
That's the very church that put you in slavery.
While in reality, the voodoo, the guy they say was a voodoo priest that they say that started the whole revolution since the very beginning. His name was Bookman. He in his prayer, you know what he says? Cast out the white man's God who's so pitiless. He been know something. He's like, get rid of that white man's God. We don't want him around here. But yet later on, you have those guys writing a constitution and say the only religion we recognize is the Catholic Church.
So you cannot have a physical revolution without a spiritual one.
Essentially, what you just did, you leave a door for them to weasel themselves back in.
Your people will sell themselves out because imagine yourself. Your people is worshiping this guy, right? Your people is worshiping this guy. What is the effect? There's psychological consequence for that. When you see the white men go to Haiti, I don't know about the other islands, you see our people's running after them like bien, and calling them whites. You know, literally running after them. Because this men right here make them sympathetic with the white people. You understand? But when you have their doctrine and this guy's still in your church, you're worshiping that guy. So eventually, you will sell yourself out back to them. It doesn't matter if you're physically free.
Just matter of time. You can get rid of the French and have all the militaries, everything leave, and you leave the churches, they will come back. Next time they're coming as missionaries, not as soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And
They'll come back as missionary and conquer you.
They'll brainwash all of you and take over the land again. It's like it's like a what do you call it? A poison. It's like a virus, a disease, keeps spreading.
If they cannot conquer you with their missionaries, they bring in their army. That's what they do. That's what they tried to do with the Afghans, and it fell miserably.
Because they fought. So essentially what we're looking at is a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes that's happening right now. And in Africa, Esau is losing. Esau is mad as hell. They're pissed because they're losing power. And they are willing to kill a lot of black people. And again, you're going to have those sold out cool nations that are about to be killing their own brothers in the name of Esau, to save Esau.
When does
right
it
now,
end, bro?
just yesterday, I read an article that the Nigerians had already conducted all their meetings with their joint chiefs of staff from Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, as well as Senegal. And they already have all the approval, everything they need to attack Niger. Niger was dependent on Nigeria for power. 70% of their power comes from Nigeria. Nigeria, without a care, cut off all power to Niger. But again, why would Niger even be dependent on Nigeria for power when they have unlimited uranium? They can have their own nuclear power plant. But because France has been doing this whole thing, robbing them and never give them a chance to develop, to be anything. Okay? So now, Nigeria is preparing to attack Niger. And Niger is looking for friends. Mali is standing up and say, if they attack you, I'm going to defend you. Burkina Faso say the same thing. If they attack you, I'm going to defend you. Guinea wants to do the same thing. They're kind of scared. But they're ready to provide military aid. That's what they say. We will provide military aid. And I've heard some of the military brass of the Niger new government had already reached out to Russia and Wagner. And the West is even more pissed. Now they start pushing out articles saying why Russia is destabilizing Africa. No, they're not. They're not destabilizing Africa. You are.
That's it. Being destabilized.
And good English, you is.
You're talking about. How dare the white men talk about destabilizing Africa? Africa been destabilized.
You did.
No, what's not destabilizing Africa? What you talking about destabilized? It's been destabilized. You're talking about people cannot eat. You call that stability?
It's not stable. It hasn't been. It's never been stable.
Stop it.
Right? So essentially what we're saying here is this is an extension of the new Cold War. And as you guys know, there's a Cold War. There's a war between Ukraine and Russia, and a lot of countries are supporting Ukraine, and a lot of countries are supporting Russia. Just like they started a war in Sudan between two groups, the Sudanese army and the Sudanese paramilitary force led by a guy whose name is Hemedti.
Is this still going on?
It's still going on. A lot of people are dying. They're not even talking about it because they don't care. They just want you to fight each other. And guess what? There's two sides. One supported by Russia, one supported by the United States.
We're being torn apart by white people.
They want to open a new front in Africa where they're going to have Africans dying while they themselves playing geopolitics.
But the thing is, right now, we're going to get caught up in crossfire because it's Russia in the West. You know, they're all influencing everything.
Right.
So it's like that struggle for power now.
But yet again, how is this thing relating to us? We still have the beast in Africa posing significant
sitting in the
threat
wilderness
and looking for the remnant of our people to wipe them off the face of the earth. A lot of people, especially Mali and Niger, are our people.
But here's the thing.
And if you don't believe me, go to Acts 13 verse 1. That same word Niger is exactly the same name of that country, Niger. What they used to call our people. Mm-hmm. Okay, same thing. So again, the beast is not done yet with our people.
But I think it's gonna get home because like, when you look at Revelation, I think is that 14, 17? When he say he'll make war with the saints that keep the commandments.
17.
Is 17 verse 12?
With the saints.
14 verse 17. Hold on, let me get that. Just
Oh,
to be-
13, 7. The beast was given power to make war against the saints.
No, not that one. 14 verse. Oh, okay, 17. Hold on. Yeah, it's 12. 12, it says, verse 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
It was what?
Went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
The dragon was what? Was wrath.
Right.
Essentially was peace with the woman. Read.
Which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Hamashiach.
Okay.
So I think the war is going to get home because it's not just, it's going to stay in Africa. So what would the white men start thinking about? I see these Hebrews. What if they try to join Russia too with that whole wave of Russia loving thing, sentiment, right? So what would you think that's gonna happen? That thing, I think that could be the thing that start a whole fear. Because remember, Egypt started persecuting the Hebrews because they believed that the Hebrews could train up with another group to fight against Egypt. So this is why the whole slavery started in Egypt.
When you have a chance, look onto something called George Washington's vision or George Washington's dream. In the dream, he saw some kind of dark cloud that was coming from Africa and it spread to America, and it literally was the destruction of America. So, guys, that's pretty much the lesson. The lesson is that things are getting out of hand. The beast is wounded. Africa is standing up, and they're standing up for their people, and they're willing to fight. And we still have some of our people over there. But again, as you can see, as we're teaching, the world is being destabilized. The Most High is bringing chaos to them. The more we teach, the more we practice the righteousness of the Most High, their systems start collapsing. We don't even have to fight them.
That's it.
We don't even have to touch them. All of their system is falling. People is, I mean, think about it. In 4 African countries, all of them want Esau out. I mean, where does that spirit come from? It's because the Most High is literally taking our messages, spreading in Africa. We got brothers going all over Africa teaching. Now people be like, nah, you're right. That's why we're suffering.
It's
So
like
they're waking up.
the world we were drunk. You know, when you wake up in the morning, it's like, what happened? Yeah?
Exactly.
So everybody's, you know, that wine is wearing off.
And they're waking up.
So everybody's like, what happened? You know, like, especially with Esau now pushing all these LGBT things, I think that's really opening everybody's eyes. Especially in most, like Kenya and all these African countries, they're like, man, like, we ain't with that, bro. Like, get that thing out of it. They start really looking at the white men like, you're nuts. You know, everybody start losing every single respect for America right now.
Yeah, but again, you say America, but it's not just
And
America.
yeah,
it's
the collective
it's a list
gang.
of countries. They're all pushing the
They're
same
not
thing.
countries, like they're gangs.
It's a list,
Collective
it's a gang, right? it's a gang. They're pushing this. It's the same doctrine, same ideology, and the same way of doing things. Destroy your country, rob you, right? But a lot of countries all over the world, especially in Africa right now, they're waking up and they're willing to fight. And I'm actually extremely happy and feel that if all African countries were to do the same thing, Africa would have been liberated. You have the fact that Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, they all come and say, any attack on Niger is going to be a declaration on us. It's going to be a declaration of war on us. It's time for African countries to stick together.
That's it.
Now, even though Nigeria and all them countries want to fight, they're actually more careful because they know if they do, it's going to turn into a much wider war, which I don't think Esau care. 50 million black people die, Esau don't care. As long as they keep getting their resources, they really don't give. If they could put 90 million of black people in slavery, you think they care about 50 millions of Nigerians or Nigerians? They don't care about that.
But it's how accurate is the scripture, though? Because I think today we just see something different here. You know, how the woman sit in the wilderness. I think that part we've never really broken it down.
But this actually should be for another lesson. But as you're gonna see, it's this clash between the remnants of the Israelites and the actual woman that's in the wilderness. That is happening. It's like a final fight that's happening right now. Okay, the remnant of Israel and the woman that's in the wilderness sitting on the beast. Okay, it's gonna get even more interesting, and I hope you guys pay a lot of attention. I know for the most part our people try not to pay attention to what's going on in Africa, but mark my word, what's going on over there can easily affect us over here. Pay a lot of attention to it, because what's going on in Africa can not only easily become a much. I was even reading an article. It says they call it the African World War. Look it up. They call it the African World War, meaning it can easily turn into a major conflict with all countries in Africa picking up sides. Algeria and Libya already are aligning with Niger. And they already have 4 friendly countries, including 3 of them says, if they attack you, we're going to go to war. While Ivory Coast, Senegal, Nigeria, and also Liberia, all of them are siding with ECOWAS, ready to attack Niger. So, you know, this thing can blow out of proportion. But for us righteous Israelites, all we have to do is pray for the remnants of Israel that are still in Africa, you know, but keep paying attention to what's going on. Because, like I say, the foundation of the beast system is being challenged right now. And the beast is not happy.
And especially with the grain deal they cut off from Russia, famine is coming, man. I see people fighting for rice in Texas.
Hey, listen.
Like, it's coming, you know. So as the scripture say, gather yourselves together. So the best thing is in these last days, because the Bible already said there won't be no job for no men to do in Egypt in the last days. Because soon recession and everything can go south anytime, especially with these wars. So
we don't even have to tell you much. Look, go to the supermarket, look at the prices. I saw the price of an avocado for like $5. I'm like, this must come from Kenan. I mean, you see a small little raggedy avocado for $5. I'm like, what is this? I mean, in Levite Land, Haiti, I could get that for like $1.50.
$1.50.
I imagine my part in Jerusalem.
Let's stand in first Jerusalem. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Barakatah Hawa.
Barakatah Hawa.
Vashem. Hamashiach. Yahushai. Lanatan Lanu. Wayom. Hashabat. Bashalom. Borak. Israel. Todah. Amen. All praises be to you, O Yahweh, for giving us this Shabbat day in peace. We thank you for the understanding and the wisdom to warn us of the time, the perilous time ahead. We pray that you continue to keep us under your wings, keep us in the righteousness of this truth, that we may continue to walk in the light, and in due time that you may save us from the powers that be. Pray that you continue to keep our brothers and sisters wherever they may be around the world safe, and that in all things that you protect them, that you be as an eagle protecting us from above. Pray that you continue to also gather our people from the 4 corners, giving them the understanding. For without the spiritual understanding and the insight, that even if we fight off the wicked, but with his philosophies and his education, we may continue to be under his oppression. Pray that you break the spiritual chain off our mind, that we may walk and may finally be free in knowing the truth, for the truth shall surely set us free. Pray that you bless this community, that you and Lord just expand us and send men and women willing to do thy work, that we may continue to spread thy gospel and that the end may come. Bring us all these things in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahushua, Amen. Shabbat Shalom Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom
Hashem Yahweh. Shabbat Shalom, O Israel. Shabbat Shalom, Yaimo. Borak Hashem Yisrael. Hallelujah, Hashem Yahweh. You're the Most High hand. It's been a long time in a strange land where there is no love for the Hebrews. My enemies hate me without cause in this place. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. It's been a long, long time. It's been a long time in a strange land. Oh yeah, where there is no love for the Hebrew. My enemies hate me. My enemies hate me without cause in this place. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. 400 years, 400 years of oppression. They treated dog, oh yeah, they treated dog better than us. But you say, the kingdom belongs to us. Oh yeah, I am ready to go home. My enemies hate me. My enemies hate me without cause in this place. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. Bring me to Zion. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. I wanna see my home again. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. Bring me to Zion. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. I wanna see Jerusalem. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. My enemies hate me. My enemies hate me without cause in this place. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. Oh, I wanna see Jerusalem. Oh yeah, I'm ready to go back home. I am ready. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back. Oh, bring me to Zion. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back. Oh, I wanna see Jerusalem. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back. Oh, it's been a long time. It's been a long time in a strange land where there is no love for the Hebrew. My enemies hate me. My enemies hate me without cause in this place. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back. Oh, bring me to Zion. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. I wanna see Jerusalem. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. Bring me to Zion. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back home. I wanna see Jerusalem. Oh yeah, I am ready to go back page home. 8. We're doing page 8. Yahweh. There are many who want to bring me down. Whoa, Yahweh, there are many who want to bring me down. The enemy is watching me day and night. He wants to take my soul. The enemy is watching me day and night. He wants to
to take my soul, but you are my stronghold. My eyes are set on thee.
Oh, but you are my stronghold.
My eyes are set on thee.
Oh, but you are my stronghold.
My eyes are set on thee.
Again. Yahweh, Yahweh, there are many who want to bring me down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yahweh, Yahweh, there are many who want to bring me down. The enemy is watching me day and night. Oh, he wants to take my soul. The enemy is watching me day and night. He wants to take my soul, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Yahweh, Yahweh, break the horn of all my enemies. Break the horn, oh yeah. Of all my enemies. They're watching me, they will be soon along. Yes, he's in exit. They're watching me, oh yeah, they're watching me, they will be soon along. Yes, he's in exit. But you are my stronghold. Oh, 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 but you are my stronghold. Yahweh, Yahweh, children blood I found in the street. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yahweh, Yahweh, our children blood I found in the street. When that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, mischief wasn't there hard to bring me to the ground. When that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, mischief wasn't there hard to bring me to the ground. But you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. When that's at peace, to bring me to the ground. When that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, which it wasn't there hard to bring me. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. I'm way, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. When that's at peace, when that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, when she wasn't there to bring me to the ground, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. But you are my stronghold. Oh, Yahweh, Yahweh, children blood I found in the street. I found in the street. I found in the street. When that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, me she wasn't there to bring me to the. Oh, when that's at peace, oh yeah, now to bring me to the ground, but you are my stronghold. Oh, 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 but you are my stronghold. Destroy the. Oh, but you are my stronghold. They're watching me. Guess he's not in exit. They're watching me, oh yeah. No longer he's not in exit, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. My life isn't dying. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, when that's at peace, to bring me to the ground. When that's at peace, oh yeah, when that's at peace, to bring me to the ground. But you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Oh, but you are my stronghold. Hallelujah. All praise to the Most High by Hashem Yahushai. Woo! Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All praise be to the Most High, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Remember, your contribution and donations are highly appreciated. Also, we have town hall for all those that come to GYC. You may participate to discuss the issues and the progress we're making. So at 3 town hall meeting for all those that come to GYC. All praises.
The town hall will be 3 to 4.
Right, town hall is wide open to the public. That's for everyone to participate, members or not.